When someone says they believe in God, or asks you if you believe in God, or when someone says they are an atheist, or asks if you are an atheist, I find this all rather meaningless until some definition or concept of the God they are referring to is given. It's fairly obvious, for example, that after some quick investigation, that the Abrahamic God of the Old Testament is quite different to the God of Spinoza. Personally, I find myself agreeing with Spinoza's idea of God, but of course, I don't truly know. None of us do. Existence is very strange. It is weird, and we know so little. I mean, in the broader context, perhaps everything we know is wrong when attempting to understand what may be the fundamental reality. Take the simulation hypothesis, for example. What I do like to do is play around with some ideas of what the situation surrounding God may be, and I thought I might share a few of those with you today. Let's first take the idea of a personal creator God, a deity of such, which is the architect and creator of the universe and the worlds in it, as artifacts of that creation. Let's assume that this God wishes to remain hidden from its creation, so as to not ruin the show, spoil the fun. And when I say hidden, I don't mean just refraining from poking his face out from behind a cloud from time to time. I mean entirely hidden, in that there is no evidence in the world that points to his existence. This would imply that the world and everything in it, including life, would need to show itself as something that grows and evolves organically, with self-organizing capabilities. It would be a natural system. We would see nature. If anything in and of the world was too orderly, too contrived, or too much of an artifact to have been produced by natural processes, then we would suspect a creator. Likewise, if things were too good to be true, such as sufferings being non-existent, then this could raise our suspicions. So, for example, let's imagine that instead of animals, including us, feeding on other life forms like we do, which causes prolific suffering, ready-to-eat foods just fell to us from the sky at scheduled times. Or, as less extreme examples, say animal protein was not required for nutrition, only fruits and vegetables, and these grew abundantly, without disease, and completely immune to the ravages of droughts or hurricanes for some unknown reason. And let's say that animals and humans, instead of developing diseases, remain entirely disease-free and just peacefully die in their sleep at a specific age. Or let's say if the landscapes of the world existed in too orderly of a way, mountains like perfect pyramids, sea cliffs like perfect squares, forests with trees all of the same dimensions and laid out in perfect shapes, etc., etc. Instead, what we have is a world in which nature behaves like nature. The landscapes of the world are perfect in their imperfections. Life forms are riddled with diseases. The evidence for Darwinian evolution is overwhelming, and it is driven by natural selection, which involves unimaginable suffering. And to feed life, life devours other life. The animal kingdom and the factory farming industry created by humans is absolutely brutal and horrifying. Indeed, we live in a world that appears to have manifested of its own accord by the laws of nature, not a conscious creator, unless one that desired to remain hidden. And if hidden this creator is, what a competent job he has done of it. This world is brutal to the core. If you ever need reminding of this, then watch some videos from the animal kingdom of animals tearing each other to pieces, eating each other alive. Look at chimpanzees on their hunting parades. Study how humans exploit those less fortunate. You know, I often say that people should be careful what they wish for. It is the brutality of life and the natural world, as outlined above, that drives many people to hope and wish for a personal God that will make it all make sense, or have a heaven waiting for them after this life. Or people are ignorant. They are unaware of the true brutal nature of existence. They only see the butterflies and sunsets, and they see this as evidence for a personal God. But for whatever reason someone may wish for or believe in a personal deity type God, I say, be careful what you wish for. For such a reality could truly be infinitely more terrifying than the existence created by nature. People have this peculiar idea that such a God would be perfectly good, and always good. But why? Why good? What if this God is evil, or becomes evil, and you are his plaything, with no escape for eternity? Be careful what you wish for. Then we have the idea of the God of Spinoza, in which God is not some conscious personal creator deity, but rather existence and nature itself. The universe and nature manifest out of the eternal and fundamental state of being, which is God, which is infinite potential. And the outcomes of this potential manifest necessarily into states of existence such as the universe we are in now. And whilst out of the infinite multitude of states of existence that could manifest, some may exhibit heaven-like realms, just as so, hellish realms of our worst nightmares will naturally develop. This is the price to be paid. Inevitable being, necessary manifestation, no conscious regulation, except for what evolves within the macro system on a micro level, such as us. Whilst there are adventures to be had, overall one could find this reality disconcerting, to say the least. And then we have another idea of God, which aligns with various Eastern philosophies and religions. Similar to Spinoza's God, in that God is the fundamental ground of being, the one eternal energy, the one ta-ta-ta, 10,000 things, one suchness, but with a core difference in its fundamental attribute. It is aware of its being. And in this awareness, it imagines ways to forget itself for a time, for eons, by playing hide and seek with itself, forgetting itself, that it is God, and taking refuge in the infinite multiplicity of all individual life forms throughout the cosmos. The game worked well to forget. If we observe the brutality and suffering of the natural world, then we can see how far out God is playing the game of forgetting. But at what point has the game gone wrong? Horribly wrong. And how do we, I, remember? If God, aware of its being, aware of its eternal loneliness, dispersed itself into multiplicity to create the illusion of self and other, this illusion is easily broken when we realize how alone we still are. One might ask, does this confirm the eternal justice that Schopenhauer wrote about? Of course, we also have the idea of Philip Mainlander to cheer us up, which is that the universe is the decaying corpse of God, who couldn't stand its own being, and so committed suicide by precipitating itself into entropy. Ultimately, we just don't know. but we must be careful what we wish for.